I'm live. Welcome back, Sugar Freedom fans. Today's episode is a live rehearsal for my forthcoming top tip, number 4, on losing a lot of weight and keeping it off for good. Back when I was a singer-dancer for Holland America Line, we used to have a saying, no rehearsal, no show. One of the things I want to do is improve the tempo and the quality of my videos, so I'm sharing these rehearsals with you, understanding what I need to do to make good videos in order to give you good information. Today's top tip, remember your motivating event. What is a motivating event? So, according to a study, which I'm going to link to, by the National Weight Control Registry, of which I am a member, motivating events make a big difference in being able to lose a lot of weight and keep it off for good. So I'm going to describe my top 2 motivating events. In 2003, when I was still officially obese, I tried to go back and dance again by choreographing a dance. Here's what happened. I was demonstrating a grand jeté, which is the biggest jump we do in dance, to a new dancer. And the new dancer was having some trouble getting it, so I kept demonstrating it higher and higher and higher. Now remember, I'm officially obese. At this point, I was 5'1", and I probably still weighed about 170 pounds at this point. I came down wrong, and the cracking snap that I heard was probably one of the most horrible, sickening sounds I've ever heard in my life, and I knew I was in trouble. I knew it was bad. The adrenaline was pumping, so I didn't really feel a lot of pain, but I knew I was going to feel pain soon. So I got security to come to the dance studio. They drove me to my car, and I managed to drive myself to the hospital. Once the x-ray happened, I found out I had broken my foot in 4 places. So this motivating event, it was incredibly powerful. I remember what happened, the sounds, the smells, what I was wearing, how I felt, and it brought home to me that if I wanted to live the life I wanted to live, if I still wanted to dance, if I still wanted to choreograph, I absolutely had to take the weight off. So that was motivating event number 1. After that, I joined Weight Watchers and I started to do a lot of cardio. So that was 2003. The weight did not come off. I would lose it and gain it back, and then I would lose it and gain it back, and I was hungry all the time. So then later on in 2007, there was a second motivating event. And during 1 week, the first thing that happened, I was 43 at this time, and I went to the grocery store and I was with my son, and I was offered the senior discount. And at 43, it was a real shock to me because I had always looked younger than my age. And the senior discount at this store was 60 and over. So I'm 43 and they're asking if I'm over 60. Then during the same week, on 2 occasions, I was asked if my son was my grandson. And my favorite one was this lovely young gal was like, "Oh, he is so cute. Now, is he your son or your grandson?" And she was so sweet, and she could tell from my face, she was like, "Oh no, I shouldn't have asked that question." And it's okay. It's okay. Of course, he was my son. But I went home, and the funny thing is, once again, I remember what I was wearing that day. I remember how I had done my hair. I had makeup on, and I was like, okay, I've made an effort to look nice. I had this cute little white jacket. The funny thing about the jacket is that it was a petite extra large. There's an oxymoron for you. And once again, I realized that I had to do something because it wasn't so much about my weight, it was about my identity. I was being seen as somebody that I wasn't. So those were the 2 motivating events. One of them, a health event. I had gotten so heavy that I broke my foot. And then the second one had to do with my identity. And I'll go ahead and link to the study once I get this up so that you can read about the comparison study that the National Weight Control Registry did. And this study is actually on younger people who succeeded at losing weight opposed to older people who succeeded. And what they really found was that these goals were so important. The motivating goals, the events, that very often it was, and they literally call it a triggering event. And I know that, trigger is kind of a little bit of a political word these days, but that's the word they used, triggering event. That people who had those events and who actually used them as motivators, those folks actually had more success, significantly more success at weight loss. And of course, I'll link to the study. It's pretty in-depth, a lot of reading. And as I said, I do want to keep some of these advice videos a little bit short so they're easy to consume, and then you take them out there and you put them into action. So that is top tip number 4. Remember your motivating, excuse me, see, this is why we have rehearsal. Remember your motivating events. See if those events, and you can actually, as an actor, there's an acting exercise that we use. We use what we call emotional memory. And so we use memories from the past to bring them into our acting work so that we can, heart rate, the way you feel, the way you move actually changes. Well, this technique, this emotional memory technique, can actually work for health and weight loss. Remember these emotional events. Remember what you were wearing, how you were feeling, how you were moving, the atmosphere that day, what were you seeing, what were you smelling, and it can actually give you that emotional power, which can help you in those day-to-day moments when you may have to deal with craving and temptation. So let me go ahead and wrap up this rehearsal of my 4th tip by giving you a recap of the 4 tips. Tip number 1, decide what you're going to eat each day and write it down before you take your first bite. So before you eat, make the decision on what you're going to eat for the day. Tip number 2, expect temptation and have a plan to resist it. And there's another video that describes tip number 2. Tip number 3, handle calories in the kitchen, not in the gym. I like to say calories in the kitchen, ability in the gym. If you try to work off what you've eaten, you're probably only going to increase your appetite. Manage calories in the kitchen, not in the gym. And then tip number 4, remember your motivating events. Very often they're more powerful than what you'll see on the scale. I'm so glad I did this. It felt really good to get on here and do a rehearsal before I go and do the official video. Like, share, subscribe, and always remember, eat for yourself. Be well, everybody.